What's up, everyone? Welcome to the final episode of season 9, and I am so happy to be ending it with my good personal friend, Mr. Chaez Boswell. He is the owner and operator of the Rink Studios that's doing amazing things inside of the Del Paso Heights area of Sacramento. Chaz, what's up, and welcome to In Our Tribe, my friend.
What's up, Adrian? Thank you for having me. A blessing as always to be surrounded by good people and have good conversation.
Yes. I want to thank you because in the last 12 months, one of the highlights of my life happened, and that is that I got to see the God MC himself,
Yes, sir.
Kim, and it happened at no other than the Rink Studios. And you know what's crazy is you actually got me backstage to meet him, and I was like, I walked out of there in cloud nine. I couldn't even feel my feet, dude. I was like, did that just happen? Did that just happen?
Yeah.
That was dope, bro. That was dope. By the way, if you all have been tuning into the In Our Tribe podcast, we actually do it from, what do you all call that? The back room? You call that the
A
guest
green
room?
room. Green room.
The green room. Yeah, we record live from the Rink Studios, the Green Room, and that's actually where I met Rakim. So that place has like a magic significance to me. My
Yeah.
brother, what are you listening to these days, man?
Oh, man. Life has been moving so fast. Well, first off, I have a 4-year-old daughter. So I listen to a lot of Disney stuff, right? Like, I know the whole Moana soundtrack,
Yeah.
Frozen. It's funny, man. We've been to some of these Disney on Ice shows, and we went with a couple other friends, and they're kids shows, but like you watch these things so many times that even as a parent, like whether you like the music or not, it's ingrained in you. And so we went to a couple of Disney and Ices, and I went with some friends, and I just remember we were doing what was it? I think Encanto was like on, like showing, and like you just look around and all the parents are singing the music, like the kids are singing it, but the parents are like going all in, like this is my jam. So yeah, I have a 4-year-old daughter, so of course I'm listening to all the Disney stuff and all the toddler movie anthems. But other than that, man, life has been crazy. I've really been listening to a lot of like lo-fi music without words, and just really helping with centering my energy and my vibrations in my own hectic world. Other than that, I'm still on my neo soul, soulful. And it's one of my top playlists on Spotify is "Do for Love" Snow Allegra, and there's just amazing
Yes.
artists on that playlist. The vibes
Yes.
are just immaculate and kind of always keeps me even keel, and in a space of just vibing, man, vibing. So I'd say I haven't listened to a lot of new music, which is kind of crazy. I think I've been settling in comfort music, things that are I'm accustomed to, and things that I know, and things that are filling up my spirit. And a lot of that seems to be, kind of that neo soul vibe.
Yeah. What's her name again? How do you say her name?
Snow Allegra.
Yeah, yeah. Is that a band or with the female singer? Or is that her?
It's her. It's her. I think she's like Iranian too. But yeah, she's dope. She's definitely dope. And it's not just her. She's dope, but there's just so many amazing artists that come on that
Mhm.
playlist.
Yeah,
Oh, there's
yeah.
another female artist who I've been listening to. Oh, no, it's not Timar. It's I forgot. I should have known I was coming on this podcast, and I should have my music ready. I should have known it. She
But you know who she
sings.
reminds me of? She gives me some guapole vibes, man.
Yeah. Well, they both have a similar facial structure, and obviously, when you're in a similar lane, like there's gonna be those comparisons to that. Hold on, I want to tell you the artist I was thinking of. It's Tiana Major.
I gotta look this up.
She sings that song "Collide" that was from Queen and Slim. I'm not
Yep,
gonna sing it
yep.
on this podcast, but yeah, she's got amazing vocals. She's also from the UK, man, has just been producing a lot of really dope artists, even in the R&B
Hmm.
lane. Especially the female presence is really really strong. So there's some really dope artists: Georgia Smith, Tiana Taylor. I mean, not Tiana Taylor. Sorry, Tiana Major, and a few other folks that are really killing the scene right now.
That's dope. That's dope. I always tell this story of one of my favorite road trips was with you, and you know which one I'm talking about, right? Uh,
Yeah,
we, we we get on that plane from Sacramento. We land in Seattle. We hang out there for a little bit, did our thing, and then did what 3 hour drive to Yakima or whatever it's called.
yeah, it was a drive. Yeah,
All I remember saying is like, "Hey man, bring some music, right?" And oh my goodness, and to this day, dude, like when I tell people, the guy who freaking made the best road trip possible, music wise, was Chaz, man. So he was doing some promotion stuff back in the day, and so he had access to things before they would come out, right?
for sure.
And so on that road trip, Chaz brought was it Frank Ocean Orange before it was released? I know the three. It was J. Cole's first. It was Kendrick Lamar's Section 80, and it was Frank Ocean's. Damn, what
Yeah, I think
album
it
was that?
was. I think it was Channel Orange.
Oh my goodness, man! That road
Yeah,
trip was those three. That's all we needed. That's all we
yeah,
needed.
yeah.
That
That
was
was a
really
good one.
good.
That
Ooh,
was a good
and you know that was my first time. We're talking about some time. That was my first time hearing all three of them. And I remember you would say things like you would introduce the album to me before you would put it in. Back in the day, we were on CDs, and you're
Yeah.
like, "Hey, so this guy right here, like everyone's saying, as soon as it drops, it's over. He's gonna be the biggest thing ever, right?" And it was Kendrick. And then you were saying, but this is the guy I really like for some reason, and it was J. Cole. And then we would hear that Frank Ocean one, and that's the one with oh man, what's the name of that song? Oh my god. Yeah, I ain't gonna sing on here either.
Hey, hey, yeah, don't do it. Hey, this might be a different kind of podcast if we start singing in here.
I know, I know. You know what? Let's change the subject. We will change the subject right now, and we're gonna talk about the Rink Studios. The Rink Studios, man, really cool place, man. Thank you for the sneak peek. Thank you for letting us record the In Our Tribe podcast there. It's a vibe. We love it. And my first show there, Rakim, as I said earlier. But tell us about the Rink Studio, man. How did it come under the ownership and and Chaz Boswell being the operator of this wonderful machine you're growing?
Yeah, well, I've the past what 12, 15 years, I've been highly involved in music-based events. I've got an opportunity to work with some really amazing folks, local promoters, big festivals, traveling on tour, and just really built up a pretty cool resume and figured out that music is something that I wanted to continue to be a part of. Um, in the most traditional sense of how we think of art and music, I don't have an artistic bone in my body. I can't play any instruments. I can't sing. I took a stab at rapping, like I think everyone did at one point in their life. Made a few songs. I gotta find those. I gotta let you hear some of the songs I've made, man. It's crazy. Um,
Wait. What was your MC name? What was your MC name? Tell me.
oh, do I even remember? I don't. I don't think I had. I mean, I had one like in high school. It was like Hitman, something, something, or whatever. But I think when I was making the music in college, it never was for the purpose of like really wanting to put out music. It was just like I was around it all the time. I was in studios working with artists, and I would play around, and they'd be like, "Yo, let me make a song." Um, anywho, I found my kind of niche in supporting the music scene by being an operator, specializing in events, outdoor events, festivals, helping organize tours, being managed production within venues and all that kind of stuff. And although I've been very blessed to travel and do some of these really amazing big time projects, it got to the point in my life where I needed to find something a little bit more stable with my time and energy, figure out how I can contribute to something long term and something that I actually owned, because everything else, I had been doing outside of nonprofit work really was, at the behest of somebody else's company, and kind of playing a number two, number three, number four kind of role. And so, decided a couple years ago, like, yeah, the venue is definitely something I want to get involved in. However, I will say this, and I tell people this all the time. I'm such a low key person. My ideal of a venue, or what I thought I would be getting involved into, was something similar to a smaller jazz room, 100, 150 people, easy going. You could fill it up with locals, or just, an easy idea. And that did not end up being the case. The Rink Studios is a quite large building with, a pretty decent capacity, 575 people. And at the time, I was working with somebody else, and we had both just, wanted to do a venue and collaborated on, getting something going. The story is kind of wonky because originally I was looking at a venue downtown, Chando's Cantina, that used to be Avalon, as a lot of people know it, or Club Next, which is on H and 15th. Kind of a historical building in the landscape of like nightlife for Sacramento. It was like one of the first VIP bottle service clubs in Sacramento. I helped promote it when it first opened, and spent a lot of time there. And so the story goes, had this conversation about wanting to start a venue. Um, and I was looking for a space to do an after party for another event, and had walked up there, knocked on the door. Someone opened the door, and I looked in, and they were taking everything down. And I was like, "Hey, what's going on?" And the guy was like, "Oh yeah, we're getting out of here. This place is closing." Before anybody had known about the Chando's closing or all the stuff that he was going through. Um, and I was like, "Wait, what?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Oh, that's crazy." And so I had a friend who knew the owner of the building. I had reached out to the owner of the building. I said, "Hey, I heard Chando's is leaving," and he didn't even know. It hadn't even been communicated to the owner of the building that they were leaving. Like, it was a rush job. And so he was like, "Wait, what?" I finally got a hold of him and talked to him. He's like, "Wait, what?" And so he ends up calling, find out, yeah, they're leaving. Great guy. And so we end up starting a relationship, and I put down money and started a lease there. However, as I mentioned, it's such an icon and has been around for a long time. There's been so many, operators over a 20-year span, that there had been a lot of work that had been done in the building that was not permitted. And at that time, fire and city code had been informed that there wasn't, these permits for all of this work that had happened. And so it got put into what's called dangerous housing. And dangerous housing just means either there are things that have been discovered that the city is saying is dangerous to people's, health and safety, or there's a bunch of work that hasn't been approved, and so the city can't stamp it as a safe place to be, and it naturally falls into dangerous housing. And so for 3 months, I was there meeting and meeting with architects and engineers and contractors in the city, and could not, get it passed in a way that made me feel comfortable. And
Mm.
so there were some events that had already been booked because thought we had a place, couldn't get it going. And so went into kind of panic mode, like, "Oh man, what's I got these events booked, and I don't have a venue." And was on a call with the city and some other venue and event organizers, because I was, in all these collaboratives and different cohorts and things. And a man named Greg Kennedy was on the call, and he said, "I have this building in Del Paso, and I can't get it booked. Everybody in Sacramento says there's no venues and all this stuff, and yet I have one that's available, and nobody wants to book here." And I had been to the space, the Rink Studios, prior. A good friend of mine, Phil Tayek, he's actually one of the creators of Jabberwockies. And so he was hosting an event there with some other folks, David Garibaldi and some other folks, and he asked me to come and speak. And I went and experienced the venue. I was like, "Oh, okay." And so I had remembered that experience, ended up getting on the phone with the guy, Greg, who owned it, and was like, "Hey, what are you looking to do?" And, he was trying to get out of the business. I was trying to get into it. It definitely took, a few months to get him comfortable enough to give over his baby, something that he had designed from a concept of being in a band himself, and, I gave it all he had to try to make it work, and just wasn't happening. And so it took a few months of courting, and then we did a few events there to kind of prove to him, who we were and what we were capable of. And finally he was like, "Okay, all right, let's see, let's make this happen." And so in 2024, we took over in April. I think that we signed in June or something like that, but we had already been working. And yeah, that's how we got to the space of having the Ring Studios. The initial concept that he had planned out was a hybrid situation where there's a bunch of studios people could either rehearse or record in, and then there was a performance venue. And so the building is 11,000 square feet, but half of it is a performance venue and half of it is smaller studios and offices and stuff like that. And so got in there in 2020 24, honestly, without a plan, just knowing this is something that I wanted to do, and would let God sort it out. Like I said, it was bigger than I had ever imagined as far as the space or size that I would have wanted to go into for a first venue project. And so jumped in with 2 feet, and here we are almost 2 years later, chucking along, and as for all intents and purposes, I think building something really cool in Sacramento.
Couldn't agree more. One of the coolest things is that the Rink Studios is right there on Del Paso Boulevard, right?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that, man, because you and I have done work throughout Sacramento forever, and we've seen the highs and the lows of DPH. We've seen the renaissance, and we've seen the sudden stops of DPH, and here you are making stuff happen inside of DPH, which I think is awesome. And I think Del Paso Heights is a dope place. And I want people to get out there and visit Del Paso Heights because I think it really is an amazing, true place. Great food, great people, great vibe. But tell me a little bit about how you're overcoming the bullshit stereotypes that are out there. And oh, DPH this, DPH that. And we're all like, yeah, relax with that stuff already.
Yeah, very carefully. It's unfortunate, right? Because of the way news and media and how negativity travels faster than anything else, right? Del Paso is one of the oldest neighborhoods in Sacramento. It at one time was the artist and creative hub of Sacramento. It
Right.
is the
That's
original curator of Second Saturdays in Sacramento. And it has this long, rich artistic and cultural history that has just been completely overshadowed, by incidences of violence and other things. And, while it is important to report on, crime and things of those nature, it has completely overshadowed the great, rich history that it has. Um, Particularly in urban neighborhoods, there are certain sectors of Sacramento that we've all kind of grown up knowing, like, hey, got to be careful when you go over there. Um, and so, yeah, it has been a challenge. I think even when I first came in, I did not grow up in that area. And so for me, I was a victim of a lot of the stereotypes that we all have heard. And so going into Del Paso Heights, I had my reservations of just like, oh, okay, what am I getting into? Uh, but the experience has been amazing. The community is amazing. A lot of people don't know the different neighborhoods that make up the Del Paso Heights neighborhood. But as you mentioned, there's a lot of, great culture, great art, great food in
straight up.
that area. And it
Yep.
definitely has felt like a forgotten area in Sacramento, something that has been, kind of tucked and pushed aside. Um, the last year or two, the city of Sacramento has done a really great job of putting some attention and some funds towards the area to help revitalize it. There are great master plans that have been created to help bolster the area, bring back, some of the economics, some of the culture, some of the art, some of the businesses. And so I came in at the right time. I came in at a time where the city and the area, quite honestly, I think were fed up with the reputation and wanted to do something about it and started reinvesting, in itself. The Rink Studios is located at the tail end of what people would consider Del Paso Heights. We're on the other Del Paso Heights, on the other side of Arden. And so I will say, it definitely feels a little bit different. It feels like, okay, we're at the end of Del Paso. And so a lot of where the high traffic is not in my area, which is, good and bad for various reasons. I deal with a lot of, transient homeless population that is, in need of services, in need of food, in need of shelter. And because of those things, there's a lot that happens around my building with that population, particularly. Um, but we have all of the business owners, and there's quite a few new business owners in the area. So it's a great mix. There's a great mix of folks, who have had businesses 20, 25 years over there. And then a lot of folks within the last 2 or 3 years who have come and wanted to reinvest or invest in the area. And so you have this really cool culture of old and new.
Mm,
and a lot of conversation and a lot of collaboration happening to make sure that people can be sustainable. The last, I think, 15 years, you keep seeing these waves in Del Paso where like creatives come in and want to do something, and they're there for a year or maybe two and then have to leave for whatever reasons. And a lot of it, I think, is just not getting the attention and the public support that's necessary to sustain a business. When you talk about restaurants or other brick and mortars that rely on walk-ins or traffic from other businesses, there just hasn't been any. And so they're all standalone, fighting individually to get a customer base, where, other communities are able to kind of work together and create an energy and a reputation that allows for walk-ins and traffic, and everybody kind of catches off of that. And so that's a big theme right now, is like, how do we rebrand this area? How do we make sure that people see it in the positive light that it is, and understand the beautiful things that have happened here and that are happening? It's a constant conversation right now. Fortunately for me, having an event space that throws concerts and brings in big names, like, people are coming no matter where they are. And it's funny because if you go to a lot of other cities, some of the most amazing music venues are in what people would say are these sketchy neighborhoods, right? There are warehouses where you're like, okay, make sure you lock your doors, and you get out and you go to this amazing event and concert, and you know what I mean? Then you go home after, or you go catch food and stuff like that. So when touring people come in, and people come from all over the world to host events or to perform at the venue, they don't think anything. They're just like, oh, it's another great venue. It has this old architecture. Like, the area looks, urban, looks like, all right,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so they come in and they're like, there's nothing that they're thinking. And so we have to be very careful about putting out an image or our own insecurities to other folks, because it only pushes a narrative that they never had. I've also noticed that folks from a lot of communities, and I will say non-urban, mostly suburban communities, have no idea about a reputation for Del Paso. And so they come to events with no care in the world, free, come in, have amazing events, and you can feel that energy from the beginning. Whereas some of the more urban events, as I mentioned, because our communities are tied into certain things, or, know certain things, or have connections to certain things that have happened in Del Paso, the urban side comes in very reluctantly. The urban side comes in with this, with the things, the reputations or the stigmas that they have in their head. And so you can feel that energy a little bit different with certain kinds of shows, where there's one group that's like, man, I know about Del Paso, so I'm going to move a certain kind of way. And there's another group that has no clue, and they move a certain kind of way. So, it's been
Yeah.
very interesting. I think we are able to help the area. Again, having these bigger events, bringing in national acts, bringing in touring experiences, and folks from all over Sacramento, and then some, because of some of the artists that we bring. We brought a lot of people to the area, and I think it's helped because there hasn't been negative interactions.
Yeah.
I've been there for 2 years, and we've had two car break-ins. And for Sacramento or any city, that is amazing. I don't care what neighborhood you're in. When people know there's
Yeah.
an event, people are going to be there for 3 or 4 hours. You're going to be a target for crime. You're going to be a target for car break-ins. It's the best place to
Yeah.
break into a car. No one's going to be here for 4 hours. I got 4 hours to figure out, X, Y, and Z. And so I think we have been very careful about selecting events and bringing events that we know will be a great match for the neighborhood and for the building. And because of that, we've continued to be able to help the reputation and the experience people are having in Del Paso. And
Let's
so
see.
I'm very
Really
thankful for
quick
that.
with, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. My bad. Um, can we go there really quick? Because you are bringing just a very eclectic mix of events to the Rink Studios, and I love it, right? Because Questlove was there. We said Rakim, but tell the viewers a little bit about who's been there in the last year, and who are you planning that you can share right now? Because you probably have some stuff in the works that you can't share yet, but who can you share that is coming up that people might be interested in going out to the Rink Studios and checking it out?
Yeah, now you're gonna have me thinking. Okay, Adrian. So yeah, so here's one thing about the Ring Studios: we are not particular to any kind of genre. A lot of music venues open up with a particular lane in mind. Some of that is because whoever the owners are or the talent buyers are, that's the relationships that they have. Some of it is because the folks who open it are particular to a certain kind of music. And you'll see that everywhere, and you see it in Sacramento. You'll see the places that, okay, particularly rock wants to go here, R&B goes here, or whatever it is. We've been very blessed to take in all of that. We've had rock shows. We've had iconic rock bands like Fear. As you mentioned, we've had Questlove and Rakim. We've had Mariah the Scientist. We've had T Grizzly. We've had big Christian artists like Holvey and Madison Ryan Ward. We've had some huge EDM artists come through the building, and so we've been and on top of the music, we have these amazing experiences like Bingo Loco, and we've had the Edgar Allan Poe Speakeasy, and all these
Nice.
different kinds of events that bring amazing, different, diverse crowds. I had a guy stop by, an older gentleman, 70s, from the area, lived there almost his entire life. He's like, I keep walking by, and every time I walk by, I see different people. It's like it never looks the same. I walked by one night and I saw this group of people, and I walked by another night I saw this. He's like, I'm really confused. What do you guys got going on here? And so I was able to talk to him and just let him know, like, we're open to all kinds of experiences of,
Mm.
doesn't matter about what music you listen to, doesn't matter about your orientation, doesn't matter about your religion. We're an open format venue. And so we've been very blessed to have that. God has looked out tremendously, and people are emailing and calling, and the reputation is really getting out there of the different kinds of shows and our production and our staff and the experience that we're creating. Coming up, let's see, anybody really big? I mean, and we've also had some amazing artists like La Russell, who's done 5 events at the Rink Studios. We've kind of become his home base in Sacramento. And I'm not
Okay.
sure how familiar you are with him, but he's, one of the biggest independent artists right now in the world, based on his numbers and some of the unique things and concepts that he's been able to do. And we look forward to continuing those kinds of relationships. We have some pretty big EDM shows coming up, some rock bands coming up. I'm trying to think of anybody of notoriety that's really big. I don't think we have anybody super big on the calendar right now, to be honest. Cottonmouth Kings are coming up. We one of the great blessings of last year is we started to bring in internet. We started to partner with folks bringing in international artists. So last year we've had artists from the Philippines, we've had artists from India. In February we have some really big rappers coming out of Romania, which is crazy, like millions of views on YouTube. That we're just like, what? Nostri and Satoshi, which is big. So yeah, nothing off the top of my head that I can think of that's crazy. Um, but I just challenge everybody to keep looking. We're one of those venues I think that'll surprise you. If you're looking for a particular thing, we might not be the best venue for that always. But if you are into different experiences and you have a mature musical palette, I think we're a great place to kind of scan and see who's coming up over the next couple months, because we definitely will surprise you for the size venue that we are.
Super dope. I love it, man. Uh, so I want to start slightly staying in the ring lane, but I want to bring in like Chaz, the person, into this.
Yeah.
So when you think about your history as a youth developer, you think about your history, and I know you hate the term entrepreneur, as a businessman, and now you add this husband, father, right? Like, man, like you're doing a lot right there. So I want to break that down a little bit because I think there's some great gems in there that people want to understand a little bit. First, if you could really just talk about how has this past of being a youth developer, being in the nonprofit sector, and now running this 12,000 foot, 11,000 foot or Ring Studios, how is that all intersecting in a way that's truly you and your vibe and your vision?
That's a good question. um, I would say it a couple of ways. One, I think the approach is truly unique, um, because of the background that I've had, that my wife has had, and some of my leadership team. Um, we're approaching this differently. So I'll give you an example. Last year we held a retreat, and for many people who work in what we would call gig work, which is it's not really full time. You're picking up shifts, that kind of stuff. There's not
Yeah.
been a lot of investment into those kinds of people. There is a general perception that the turnover is going to be great. And so investing time and energy into folks and developing folks is not a common practice. I remember when I was
Mm,
talking to people about us doing a retreat for our team, they were like, wait, what? Why? Like, that seems like a lot of time and energy. And my thought was, it is, but maybe the reason why everyone is experiencing so much turnover is because the lack of care and development into the team that they have, right? Maybe
yes,
it's
sir.
not an industry standard practice. Maybe it's because, people just haven't learned that development is everything and the appreciation and the love that you get back when you do invest in people. It is hard to do because of the time that it takes and the patience that it takes.
That's right.
My entire team, I don't have anyone on my team that has done this before. No one, including myself. Everyone has brought in a skill set from somewhere else, but I found in them something that I felt was important to what I was trying to build. And that was, the interest and the desire to want to be a part of something that provides experiences. It was the interest and desire to want to be good or great at whatever you are putting your hands on.
Yes.
And it was the interest and the desire to like want to be a good human being. Like some of the questions I ask in interviews are just like people are like, wait, what? And it's like, yeah, no, I want to know what kind of human being you are. Like that matters to me. We know in the work of youth development, there are these essential things that people need to be great, right? Building on safety and community building, relationship building and involvement. And so I've taken a lot of those concepts and tried to, you know, uh, weave them into my business practices. And I think things like our retreat and some of our team meetings reflect that. And again, people are like shocked at some of the ways that we're doing the work that we're trying to do and the way that we're building this team up. I've even have some folks that have impacted my life years back, whether they were teens that I mentored that work at the Rink Studios, or young adults that I mentored in other job roles, and reconnected with them and kind of brought them back. And so I'd say
Love that.
that that is a huge part of just who I am and my commitment to developing people. It's a struggle. I'm not gonna lie, it's a struggle, and there are times when I'm like, yeah, I could just find someone more experienced, and my life would be a little bit easier. But it's not really building what I'm trying to build to do it that way. I was interviewing someone earlier today, and I was talking to that person about it. I was like, yeah, everybody on my team has never done this before. We're all going through this experience together and learning this stuff together, which is hard sometimes. But there's so much, I think, more appreciation from my team in that approach, and in the ways that we're doing things. We just did one-on-one feedback sessions with everyone, and it was an amazing experience. People got to really reflect. We call them reflection sessions, and people got an opportunity to reflect on their year, how they felt fit with the team, what they felt like their greatest strengths and assets were that we hadn't seen yet, and how to talk about showing those a little bit more and incorporating them, whether that meant somebody wanted to try something new or a different position. Again, I'm not saying people don't do that, but I don't think it's an industry standard, especially in this kind of work, to go to that level with your team,
Love
knowing
it,
that
man.
at any day those people could be gone. We don't have 6 events a
Yeah.
week where this can be a full-time job for anybody. Another thing that we do is we have a team meeting every single event, 15 minutes. The promoters know it, the artists know it. We shut everything down. We welcome the team in, we set the vibe and the tone. We do music, introductions, hype each other up. There's a break at the end. People get to ask questions. We make sure everybody knows information, and we do a safety check. And that safety check is, understanding that people come from life, whether they're coming from another job, whether they have personal things going on. You're here with me tonight, and I want to make sure that we lay the groundwork for you to feel safe and comfortable here and to be able to do your best work. And so we offer things like, 10-minute breaks before you start your shift, hugs, quick conversations. Like, we can't do the most in 15 minutes, but we've done it, and we've actually done it. We've actually, given out hugs to people who are struggling with something personally and just needed someone to, recognize, like, I might not be in the best mood right now, or talking to people and letting them share where they're at, so that you do know if someone is going through something today. Like, maybe that's the reason why they're moving a little bit slower today, or maybe that's why they might seem a little bit unfocused today. And just really understanding and checking in with people at a personal level that allows us to work better as a team. And so there's, a lot of, I think, those skills that I've learned, working with you, working with YDN, working with other nonprofits that are based in humanity and humanity first and people first, that have translated into me building something that I believe is special.
It is special, man. It is special. Like what you're doing is beautiful, man. So I want to see if I could get even a little bit more personal with you.
Okay,
We
yeah, go
talked
ahead.
about Rink as the brick and mortar and where it's located. We talked about your team and how you're using your past efforts of youth development and human development and being an entrepreneur to create what you're creating. But I'm also curious about Chaez Boswell, the father, Chaez Boswell, the husband, in this time of, I'm sure this gig is taking a lot of you, right? How, how are you all managing life right now so that you can be fully present in all facets of your life?
Yeah. So let me start by saying this. The last 5 years of my life have been the most difficult ever. Um, and I say that to say, one, when I look back at my life, I believe God blessed me with certain skills and talents. You know how, like, when they say, uh, how do I say this? Like, so you know how some people are either born with a natural skill or work at one skill and kind of like perfect that one skill, right? And sometimes it's people that have less skills that get really good at something because they kind of don't have other options, if that makes sense, right? Those
Yeah,
people are like, I know this is what I was made to be. All everything says, and I kind of stick with this the whole thing. I am one of those people that I believe I was blessed, very young, to be talented, to be skilled, and be very versatile. And so I grabbed a lot of life experiences and worked a lot of jobs, not all of them different, but various, positions. And it kind of led me to be this more jack of many trades kind of concept. And my reflection on that and what I learned in the past 5 years is I didn't really have to commit, or I never did really commit to something like long term. I look at the jobs that I've worked, I look at things that I did in school and all these projects and, big music festivals and different companies. And when I look at my resume, it's like 3 years. For some reason, 3 years has been like this mark for me. After 3 years, I can consistently can see a change, right? Whether it was work, whether it was something else.
yeah,
And so
yeah,
the last 5 years, I have, my wife's father has come to live with us because, he had a stroke. And so, we take care of him and we are his caretaker. And he had a bad stroke. So he's in a wheelchair and has aphasia. So he cannot speak actual words for the most part or put them in sentences. I got married. I now have a 4-year-old daughter. And I also now have this business. And it has just been a complete paradigm shift for me because now I am in nothing but commitment, right? I went from like not committing in like short term to like, oh, I'm in long term commitments everywhere I look. Like, this is wild and very, very challenging for me. I cannot tell you the amount of times. Yeah,
can I
go ahead.
pause you right there?
Yeah.
I'm chuckling to myself, man, because I'm going way back in the day where you and I would facilitate camps together, and we would have a chance to just sit on those chairs and just talk about life, not talk about everything. Bro, you were the most non-committal dude I had ever met in my life.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I don't,
Here
I don't
so
even
to hear
shy from it.
yeah,
No, go
to
ahead.
hear you talk like this, man, to hear you talk like this, it warms my heart, man. It's a beautiful thing to hear you say, like, I'm in it to win it now, man. Like, it's
Oh man,
great. It's great.
hey, I ain't gonna lie, I was kicking and fighting the whole time. Like, you know what I mean? I just now got to the place where like accepting this, and I shared with my wife, and I know it's so crazy because it was like after we got married, and I was talking to her about my commitment issues, and I know she was looking at me like, "Wait a minute, what do you mean you have commitment issues? Like, what are you talking about? We just got married, And I was like, "No, it's not. Like, I don't want to commit. I just for a great part of my life, the first almost 40 years. You know, I kind of wandered this earth with like, ooh, that's ooh, you know, and never really gave anything, you know, that full effort and that full attention. And now I am sitting in it, and again, has just been the hardest transition for me. Period. I'm not even on the other side of it yet. You know, I'm still battling those feelings and emotions and that urge to like, okay, I've done this for a while. I need to do something else. That has been my entire life. So first, just kind of acknowledging that that has been a big growth spurt and is still a growth, you know, process for me currently. But I think I'm doing well at it. I think I'm doing good at it. I think, you know, there's nothing in me right now that is looking to, you know, to run or get out of the situation. I think more now it's just like, oh, I'm still here. Okay. You know, like, all right, I'm still here, you know, doing this. I think as far as just like juggling it all, you know, again, something else that I'm still working through. My biggest goal right now is just to stay present and give everything my full attention when I'm doing it. You know, I think when I wasn't doing that and my brain was thinking about something else while I was doing something else, right? Like nothing was getting done or nothing was feeling finished, nothing was feeling completed. I would be with my daughter thinking about work and wanting to do work stuff. I would be at work thinking about my daughter or my wife and wanting to do that, you know, and it was just a lot of like discouraging feelings at the end of the day. And I would look back on my day and just be like, man, I had all these plans and all these things that I wanted to do, and I'm looking and none of them feel like I got, you know, complete. And so one of my biggest tools right now is like really trying to hyper focus and limit distractions in whatever I'm doing in the moment. You know, if I'm working on a grant submission, I'm locking in. Like I'm whatever is taking me out. And different, I do have different tools, different kinds of music. You know, there are different things that help me kind of zone in particular energies, if you will. And I am, you know, constantly working that system right now. You know, making sure I put my phone away when I'm with my daughter or when I'm with my wife. And like, you know how it is when you have kids, man. I'm 40, I'm about to be 44 with a 4-year old and a business. You know, my wife is getting her PhD right now. Like, this is crazy. As the thought of, you know what I mean? The thought of just like, what are we doing? Like, why did we make this is the most difficult thing you could ever put together? And you know, all jokes aside, there are obviously more difficult things that could be happening in my life. So not, you know, not to say it like that, but just, you know, if I was putting the plan together, this wouldn't have been the plan at this, you know what I mean? All these things at once would not have been the plan. But you know, we're making it work. You know, my wife and I, you know, we find our times, you know, to be with each other, and to be focused and hyper focused. And we've kind of found a little routine that we like late at night, that gives us, we sit on our porch and gives us some time. It is tough though. My schedule is crazy. You know what I mean? I go from waking up and, you know, getting the house ready in the mornings on certain days. And then certain days I'm at the venue until from 9 a.m. to 3:30 a.m. And then trying to balance sleep and figure that out and, all that kind of stuff. So it is a challenge, but I think I'm just, you know, staying in gratefulness. You know, every problem that I think I have is a good one, if I'm being
Yeah.
honest. You know what I mean? Like all this stuff
Mhm.
that could be stressors at certain points, they're all things that I asked for and all things that are good for me. And so it's really just, you know, like I said, staying focused in the moment. You know, I play basketball still, some of the basketball leagues. It's crazy, man. I got quick side story. I'm going to tell you this. So I played a basketball league, and right now, I would say basketball is probably the only way I get out like that frustrated energy. You know what I mean? That I carry around sometimes. You know what I mean? Like basketball.
Yep.
Yeah, I know. No, you're thinking like, get off me! I know you're thinking about right. So it's funny because even back then, I had this certain energy playing basketball. I'll let you tell the story so it puts context in there. But yeah, I'm on this basketball team, and we just lost in the playoffs, man. And I blew up on the court, man. I blew up on everybody on my team. I was just like, what are you guys doing? Do you even understand basketball? When I tell you, we had 2 minutes left to go, and we're up by 9, and then just the turnovers and lack of IQ. But anyway, so I, you know, looking for more positive outlets. You know what I mean, to build that. I do, you know, I have a therapist, so It's great to just talk to someone. And not that I can't tell my wife certain things or whatnot, but sometimes you want to talk to somebody that just doesn't know you and doesn't have any connection to like the advice that they want to give you, right? It's just plain unattached conversation. Um, and so yeah, man, I feel it. I feel me getting in the groove, in the rhythm of like what I would call this crazy life, and just
Yeah.
appreciating it for all that it is. And really, talking myself off of cliffs or off of negative thoughts as much as possible, when I can, or when I'm tired, or when I'm overwhelmed, or, when people are just doing stuff that I'm like, what? How did you even, what? Which happens a lot. Like I said, I work with a lot of people, great people, but just don't have experience and, still need to be developed and stuff like that. So, man, there was a time though. There was I think last year, going into this time last year, I was stressed, man. I was stressed. I was overwhelmed. I couldn't see like where I was going. I couldn't see how any of this could work. Everything just felt so heavy. Everything just felt like, God, you're asking me to do the most amazing things with what, you know what I mean? And it also required me to dip into my faith, you know what I mean? And really start building my spirituality up again. And, recognizing that I wouldn't be here and in this space without God's blessing and like pointing me and opening the way. When I tell you, like, I don't, every venue that's a music venue has a talent buyer. And a talent buyer is the person who's responsible for booking the acts, right? And I don't have one. Yet we remain getting amazing events and concerts. And so there are things I can directly point to in my life that, like, yeah, that's God. Like, you know what I mean? You want me to do this because I don't got it. Like, I wouldn't even be booking, I don't like the risk. I don't like, there's a lot of things with that. So, just building my faith back up, trusting in God, getting my, my routine down. But yeah, man, it's crazy. It has been wild. And it's scary because I'm getting into that 3 year mark. You know what I mean? This is going to be the end of this year will be close to 3 years. So there's that feeling inside. It's like, oh, I know me. I get the 3 year itch. You know what I mean? Like that's going to be coming up soon. But this project has so much more to do, so much to give. We just started scratching the surface of like what I am trying to do with this business. And so I'm really excited. I think this is the most excited I've been in going into 3 years, feeling like, yeah, there's a lot more to do here. This, you know what I mean? That I want to do. So
That's so dope, man. That is so dope. I had this I just warm feeling thinking about this because it reminds me so much of how I felt about YDN. Never wanted to stay. Was gonna
yeah,
go in there, do my thing, get out, and do my thing for real, for real.
yeah,
And and then it came a point where I was like, wait, I could do all the things that I'm naturally gifted at right here, and I could build all the things that I want to build still right here. And like I got the keys, And so it was like it's this really cool moment where you're like, wait, maybe I don't have to be looking for the next thing. Maybe it's time for me to build all the things I ever wanted right in this shop. And I have this feeling, Chaz. I have this feeling. I don't want to, just put that out there. Just that you're about to step into some remarkable times in your life, and I think it's a wonderful thing to see, man. I'm so grateful for you, man. I'm so grateful for this friendship that just naturally has emerged over these years. Somehow we always manage to stay in touch and
yeah.
edify each other, build each other up, man. I'm blessed that way. And I just wanted to ask you, man, as we always close out, tradition on the In Our Tribe podcast is when you think about your life right now at the beginning of 2026, what are the two or three things that you just find yourself being most grateful for and giving thanks for?
Yeah, I mean, as cliche as it is, I would start with my family. I've got a really amazing family. You talk to friends and you hear the stuff that people be going through, and like, not that you need validation. It just, I through all the things that my family has been through. Um, it's great, man. I have a great daughter. I have an amazing wife. Everybody in my family, my sister, my mom, my mother-in-law, my father-in-law. We just moved my uncle out here. I hadn't spoken to my uncle. I've probably seen my uncle since I was maybe 10. I've probably seen him twice. We lost contact. We got back into contact. He actually works at the venue now. He's a maintenance person there, facilities person. So he
Yeah.
moved out here from San Diego. And so the family is just kind of really coming together, and that's an amazing feeling. I'm very grateful for that. Um, I think I'm grateful for this business opportunity. You had just mentioned, doing something, having all your strengths being poured into something as far as business. And if you'd have asked me 2 years ago, like, how do you do this without being a marketing person? How do you do this without being a talent buyer? Those are the two most crucial components that we know
Yeah.
of when it comes to a live music venue. And I don't do either. Yet I'm sitting in a place right now that is doing well, and for where it's at and the time that we've been there is doing really, really well. And I was able to, well, God was able to, find a way for me to own and operate a music venue without being a marketer and without being a talent buyer. And it was through just forging some really amazing partnerships and creating, a business that is experience first and that showcases that. And those are things that I can do. Build great partnerships and operate in a way that is professional, but is still human. And I think that that is a testament, you know what I mean, for sure, to God. And I'm super grateful because I was stressed about how is this even possible? Like, how can I do this, without these things? And then after that, I would just say, I'm grateful for people. Constantly, people are hitting me up, checking on me, wanting to help. I would say I think I have a great, um, ecosystem of friends and associates. The city has been amazing. Um, Friends like you who have reached out and been able to utilize the venue and the space and keep, pouring life and light into it in various ways. Like, I think I'm very honored and blessed to, be surrounded by people who care and that want to help. And I have not been the best person when it comes to reaching out and pouring into others as of the last, 5 years because of how much I've been inundated with. But I do think there's a testament to how much I've previously been able to like pour into others and forge those relationships. And they're coming back around even in the time where I thought, I had lost some relationships or lost touch with people or, didn't have those anymore. And so, that's a great thing as well. Like people have supported me and boosted me up and promoted my stuff and stepped correct. You know what I mean? My friends, when they come, they spend money. You know what I mean? Like, all those kinds of things that just,
Mhm.
are really, really true community. And so I'm blessed to have that around me as well. And, and of course, my health. Yeah.
Word up. Love that, man. Love you, brother. I love the community that you're building at the Rink Studios, what you're doing for Sacramento, specifically Del Paso Heights. I love the family that you're building. It's just a beautiful thing to see this part of your life. Thank you, man. Thank you for doing what you do. I love you, man.
Likewise, brother. I appreciate you. It's an honor to be on your platform. Continue to do what you're doing. I know you've been one that I know the podcasting has been in you for a long time, so it's also amazing to kind of see, what you've been able to do, and to take and infuse, your love of art and engaging with others and taking on a different platform. And I'm truly glad that you stuck with it. Just like my journey, you stuck with yours and YDN, and were able to really, like you said, make it move with your skill set and your strengths, and it has turned into something amazing. So I appreciate, your connection, your friendship, and this opportunity and platform as well.
Straight up, man. And I'm gonna be right there with you when you say that. Yeah, we have certain gifts and certain strengths, but none of this is possible. And I don't care what I'm on and where this is gonna go. None of this is possible without the God, man. Thank you, God, for blessing us the way you have. Straight
Absolutely,
up.
brother.
I'll
Couldn't have
see you
said it
soon,
better.
brother.
All right, talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, y'all, if y'all are just well, let me take that back. I just want to thank everyone for tuning in to the In Our Tribe podcast. When you see us again, pretty soon in 2026, we'll be going into season number 10. And inside season number 10, we're going to be celebrating, holy shit, our 100th episode. So that is pretty cool, pretty wild. Thank you so much. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, keep supporting us the way that you do. Tell a friend. Appreciate it, man. And if you know someone who is an amazing change maker, an amazing youth developer or human developer, just an amazing person, and you think they can have a time with us to shine a light on them, hit us up. Let us know who they are, and we'll make sure to include them on the In Our Tribe podcast. Peace and blessings. Stay strong. With that, you can never go wrong.